I arrived home early that night, I expected to find the house warm, quiet and familiar. I had been away for 3 days on a business trip, and after finishing my meeting sooner than expected, I decided not to tell anyone I was coming back. I thought I would surprise my wife and son, maybe order dinner and enjoy an unexpected evening together. But when I pulled into the driveway just after midnight, something felt wrong. Every light in the house was off. The porch light, which my wife always left on when I traveled, was dark, the curtains were closed, and the entire house looked empty. For a moment I wondered if they had gone somewhere. Then I noticed a faint glow coming from the small laundry room window. I unlocked the front door quietly and stepped inside. The house was completely silent, except for the slow turning of the washing machine. Then I heard movement. I walked toward the laundry room and found my 16-year-old son, Daniel, sitting on the cold tile floor. He was surrounded by piles of clothes. Some were already folded, while others were scattered beside the washing machine. His eyes were red and he looked exhausted. When he saw me, he quickly stood up. "Dad," he whispered, "why are you home? I finished early." I said, "What are you doing up at midnight?" He looked down at the clothes. "Just laundry," it was a simple answer. But something about it did not make sense. Daniel had never done laundry voluntarily. I had spent years reminding him to put his clothes in the basket. Yet there he was, washing load after load in the middle of the night, while the entire house remained dark. I looked around and noticed that the clothes were not his. There were shirts I recognized from my closet. My wife's sweaters were mixed with towels, bed sheets, and several old blankets. Some of the clothes had dark stains on them. "What happened?" I asked. "Nothing, Daniel." "Look at me," he did. And in that moment I realized he was afraid. Not the kind of fear a teenager feels after getting caught breaking a rule. This was deeper. His hands were shaking, and he kept looking toward the hallway, as if he expected someone to appear. "Where's your mother?" I asked. "She's asleep. Why are you washing all of this?" He swallowed. "Dad, please don't wake her." The words made me freeze. Why he did not answer, I walked toward the hallway. But Daniel stepped in front of me. "Please," he said. "Just let her sleep." My son had never stood between me and anything before. I could see tears forming in his eyes. "Daniel," I said softly, "tell me what happened." For several seconds he said nothing, then he sat back down on the floor. "She's been sick," he whispered. I felt my stomach tighten. "Sick? Since when?" "Almost 2 weeks. "Why didn't anyone call me?" "She told me not to." I stared at him. "She said you had an important trip." "She said you were already stressed and she didn't want you to worry." "What kind of sick?" Daniel pointed toward the pile of blankets. "She gets weak sometimes and she's been coughing tonight." "She fell in the kitchen." My heart started racing. "Did she hit her head?" "I don't know." "I helped her get to bed. Did you call a doctor?" "She said no, and you listened." His face fell. I didn't know what else to do. The anger that rose inside me was not directed at him. It was directed at myself. I had been so focused on work that I had not noticed anything was wrong. I had spoken to my wife on the phone every evening, but our conversations had been short. She always said everything was fine. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. Meanwhile, my 16-year-old son had been carrying the entire situation alone.
He had been cooking meals,
Cleaning the house, helping his mother walk, changing bed sheets, and doing laundry at midnight so she could rest. "How much sleep have you been getting?" I asked. He shrugged. "Not much. When was the last time you went to school?" "Thursday." It was Monday. I sat beside him on the floor. For years I had thought my responsibility was simple. I worked hard, paid the bills, and made sure my family had everything they needed. I believed providing for them was the same as being there for them. But as I watched my exhausted son fold another towel, I understood how wrong I had been. Daniel had not needed more money. He had needed his father. I put my hand on his shoulder. "You should have called me. I didn't want to make you come home. You're my son. You never have to protect me from your problems." His eyes filled with tears. "I thought you'd be angry. Why would I be angry?" Because Mom told me not to tell you, and because I missed school, and because I couldn't keep everything clean. He looked around at the laundry. I tried, Dad. I really tried. That sentence broke something inside me. I pulled him into a hug. You did more than any kid should ever have to do. I told him you didn't fail. You helped your mother when she needed you, but you shouldn't have had to do it alone. For the first time that night, he cried, not loudly. He simply rested his head against my shoulder and let the tears fall. A few minutes later, I told him to go to bed. But the washing machine, I'll handle it. You don't know which clothes go where. Then I'll figure it out. He gave a tired smile before leaving. He turned around, Dad, yes. Don't be mad at Mom, I won't. She was scared too. That was when I understood my wife had not hidden her illness because she wanted to deceive me. She had hidden it because she was afraid of becoming a burden. She believed my work mattered more than her pain, and somewhere along the way, I had given her a reason to believe that. I walked into our bedroom. She was lying beneath the blankets, pale and weak even in the darkness. I could see that something was wrong. When I touched her hand, her eyes slowly opened. You're home, she whispered, yes. You weren't supposed to be home until Wednesday. I came early, she tried to smile. I'm sorry, the house is a mess. I looked at her for a long moment. The house isn't what I'm worried about. She turned her face away. I didn't want to interrupt your trip. You're my wife, you are not an interruption. Her eyes filled with tears. I thought I could handle it. You shouldn't have to handle everything alone. I called for medical help that night. The next few hours were frightening, but we learned that she had been dealing with a serious infection and severe exhaustion. The doctor told us that waiting much longer could have made things worse. As she recovered over the following weeks, our family changed. I canceled unnecessary travel. I adjusted my work schedule. Daniel returned to school, and we made sure he had time to be a teenager again. But the biggest change was something less visible. We started talking real conversations. Not quick phone calls where everyone said, I'm fine. We asked questions. We listened, we admitted when we were tired, worried or overwhelmed one evening. Several weeks later, I found Daniel doing laundry again. It was only 7 and this time. I walked into the room and said, Need help, he laughed. You're asking me, I'm learning. He handed me a basket, fine. Fold those. I picked up a shirt and tried to fold it. That's terrible, he said. I'm doing my best, he smiled. And for the first time in weeks, the house felt normal again. That night taught me something I will never forget. Sometimes the people we love become quiet, not because everything is okay, but because they are trying to protect us from the truth. Sometimes a child grows up too quickly because the adults around him are too busy to notice. And sometimes the darkest house can reveal the things we should have seen long before I had arrived home early. Expecting to surprise my family, instead I discovered that my son had been carrying a burden that was never meant to be his. The washing machine was still turning when I found him. But what truly needed repair was not the laundry. It was the distance between us. And from that night forward, I promised myself that no job, no trip, and no deadline would ever become more important than noticing when the people I loved needed me. Because being a provider is important, but being present is something money can never replace.